Hello there guys, and welcome to this first impressions video of Prepared version 4. Finally, after many years in development, Lockheed Martin releases the 64-bit version of Prepared. This marks special significance for the flight sim community, and I've received a lot of emails and many comments on other videos that people are disappointed with this version of Prepared and they're not impressed. And quite frankly, I'm not sure why, because this version of Prepared is the version that I'm excited the most about. Being a 64-bit platform opens up the opportunity for developers to develop even higher fidelity aircraft and add-ons for Prepared. Definitely the OOMs, or the out-of-memory problems, are a relic of the past. You no longer have to worry about VAS usage, and you can actually now focus less on tweaking the sim and really focusing on the flight, focusing on what you actually purchased the sim for, which is flying aircraft. So in this first impressions video, we're going to take a brief look at what has changed from the previous version, version 3. This is of course a brand new version. And as it is always the policy with Lockheed Martin, you need to pay the full license for the new version. But so far, I've done a few tests, and I am using Arbex North America OpenLC as well as FTX Global. The FTX Global Vectors or Vector is still not available, but it should be in the coming week. There is a list of items that are still not compatible, but I believe the developers are working around the clock to make their add-ons available in version 4, and one being the PMDG product line. We should expect something during this week or the week after for sure. The first product from PMDG that's scheduled for compatibility with the P3D version 4 is the 747. So they were actually planning on releasing it with the release of P3D version 4, but it looks like there has been some unforeseen issues, and until the time of making this video, those issues are still outstanding. In terms of the settings, nothing much has changed from the previous version. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take you through my settings, and I will pinpoint where changes have been made. In terms of FXAA, I have it turned off. Texture filtering is at 16. Anti-aliasing, this is something where things have been improved in this version of Prepared. Now, this is what we were accustomed to in the previous version, 2 through 8 MSAA, and now you have a use set from 2 to 8 SSAA, which is super sampling. And let me tell you, you no longer need NVIDIA Inspector to get rid of the shimmers. With 2x SSAA, the shimmers will be reduced tremendously. At 4x, they will be almost gone, and at 8 there will be absolutely no shimmering in the sim. Now 8x SSAA will have a tremendous effect on FPS, so it's probably going to bring the machine to its knees. So my recommendation is to keep it at 4x SSAA. So this is a big thing, I think, in this version of Prepared. Shimmers were always, and what I mean by shimmer is the kind of the reflections of the fences and the power lines, and this is now almost gone at 4x SSAA is almost gone. I'm running the sim using an NVIDIA 1080 Ti at a 1440p resolution. VSync and triple buffering is off, and the reason why I have it off is that I have G-Sync enabled. I have a G-Sync monitor. And I used to have a lot of problems with G-Sync in the previous version of Prepared, where I used to get a lot of stuttering if the FPS is below 50. I have no problem running with G-Sync now in this version of Prepared, but VSync needs to be turned off, otherwise you get some really weird behavior. Okay, so in terms of the world sliders, as you can see, things are pretty much the same as the previous version with the exception of a few things. So I have everything maxed out at the moment, and I'm pretty sure that I will need to tone this down with PMDG aircraft or the FS Labs A320, but for the A2A Cessna 172, it's perfectly fine. So we have a couple of tick boxes. One is use high resolution terrain textures. This is something new, and it will improve the overall ground texture detail. And I don't think that we can see the effect of this in the default scenery or the current Orbex scenery, but I'm pretty sure that in the future, if 4K textures are introduced, then we can make use of it using this option. I'm not exactly sure how it works at the moment, but I would think that this is what it's going to be for. In terms of the scenery objects, there is a new slider here, or beg your pardon, a new tick box, Dynamic 3D Autogen Vegetation. I believe this is for the speed trees, and just when this is enabled, there will be additional trees introduced in the scene. And what I've noticed is that they have this really strange color. So I think they just kind of make the scene unrealistic, so I left it off. And I'm using the Orbex HD trees, which look fantastic. In terms of the water and bathymetry, I have the water detail at Ultra, and the reflections, so I've changed this a bit. I don't like the cloud reflections on the water. I think they look very unrealistic, and this is unchanged in this version. But everything else here is ticked. Special effects is at max. In terms of lighting, so I have pretty much everything turned on and to the maximum setting, except for dynamic reflections, which I've turned off because it seemed to have a negative effect on FPS. It's very, very hard on FPS, so I've turned it off, but I have everything else ticked on. In terms of the weather, we are at 80 miles cloud draw distance, and the cloud coverage density is at maximum. Now, Prepar3D does not have real-time weather, but we do have some weather themes that we will be examining in a few moments. And we also do have some Orbex weather themes that we will also take a look at and see how clouds are depicted in the sim. I do have the Rex Texture Direct as well as the soft clouds installed, and it is not officially supported yet, but the only thing that you need to do is to change the path to point to P3D version 4. It doesn't really affect anything because it's just really textures, so it is safe to do so, but do it at your own risk. It is still not supported officially by Rex. In terms of the traffic options, I have aviation traffic at 20%, general aviation at 5%, road vehicles at 15%, ships and ferries at 5%, and leisure boats at 5% as well. Okay, let's jump back in the sim and let's load some weather themes and see what the sim looks like. Okay, so I've turned on the FPS counter, and we are getting about 50-something frames. And as you can see, there is some heavy clouds ahead of us. This is one of the Orbex themes that ships with Orbex. As you can see, very dense clouds, and we're still maintaining very good FPS. There are no blurries at all. The textures, as you can see, are quite sharp and in high resolution, of course. There's no stuttering whatsoever, so it's looking pretty good. Very, very promising indeed. I can't wait to test the aircraft by PMDG and the FS Labs, and hopefully it won't take very long for those aircraft to become available. Okay, I'm going to take you now to a mountainous area, and let's see how things look in a mountainous area. Now, one thing that I used to personally experience is when I'm around mountains, the textures do not load properly, especially at higher resolutions. They kind of look blurred, and they kind of start loading as you travel through the mountains, but always the mountains in the distance were blurred. So let's see if that's fixed. We are now situated at Seward Airport, British Columbia, and the one thing that you will really come to appreciate is now you can actually switch between airports without actually having to worry about VAS, which is a great thing. So this is a major improvement in Prepared version 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to depart and we're going to take a look at the mountains from a distance and see if those textures load properly. And as you can see, the textures are pretty sharp here for as far as we can see. Something personally I've suffered from in all previous versions of Prepared, where the mountains in the distance, the textures of the mountains at the distance do not load properly. And I used to get a lot of blurries. So let's go ahead and release the parking brake, and let's give it full power. And 60 knots, rotate. As you can see, pretty smooth scene, no stuttering, looks fabulous, and textures no blurry so far on the mountains. Everything looking pretty good. Here, I think you can see the mountains here. You can see how the textures are properly loaded and there are no blurries whatsoever. That looks absolutely fantastic. Alright, so we are now at about 8,000 feet, and as you can see, the textures are loaded and quite sharp, even in the distance. Everything is really looking absolutely great in terms of the visuals. So no blurry textures anymore, and everything is looking pretty sharp. Look at the detail right over here. So you don't lose any details in this version of P3D. So that's definitely a major improvement over the previous version. It looks like we're low on fuel here. It's looking absolutely phenomenal. Very, very good indeed. I've loaded the gray and rainy weather theme, which is one of the default weather themes in Prepared. And as you can see, we have the skies are filled with clouds for as far as we can see. We're still maintaining pretty good FPS, and this is indicative of the new performance improvements in this version of Prepared. I am using FSFX packages. This is the Precipitate FSFX add-on, and what I've noticed is that it's not actually working correctly. So if we switch to external view, and let me go to, there we go. So if I give it just a little bit of power here, let me release the parking brake. Yeah, this is not the correct effect normally that you'd see when you have Precipitate FX installed. Okay, let's go ahead and give it full power and see how the rain looks like after we're airborne. "60 knots, rotate." Now, as you can see, the rain drops change direction, which is a good thing. We're still maintaining very good FPS. The sim is pretty smooth. And by the way, this is Newcastle in the United Kingdom. We can see the the wet surface here. Looking pretty good. And by the way, I do have Orbex England installed. All the regions, I believe, are available for installation. Now, normally in the previous version of P3D, when you have a weather situation like this one, the FPS would probably go down to like the 20s. And this one is actually maintaining pretty good FPS, quite smooth, looking pretty good. Well, Captains, this brings us to the conclusion of our video today. I sure do hope that it gave you a good look at Prepared version 4. And until next time, please take care of yourselves and each other. I will see you in another P3D version 4 video very soon. Thanks for watching, and bye-bye for now.